DPW in attendance, we have Counselor Squalia and Counselor Hughes. We have Counselor Schultz in attendance remotely, speaking to one of the agenda items. To begin with, let's begin with the approval of the minutes from 7/27.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's unanimous. Do we have any updates with DPW? No updates? No updates, okay. All right, so we have a few new petitions for review. First item on the agenda is 16721, Councilor Bernie Schultz petition for Tom Caputi, 52 Warren Street, to install a berm in order to alleviate water erosion on the property. This was referred from City Council on July 23rd. Speaking on the motion?
Yeah, I went up, I did take a look at it, and to alleviate the problem, it does need a berm and an apron.
It does need a berm? And this is something that we can put
Yes, I think it's on.
on the list
Yes,
without any time frame?
you're right.
Okay. Any questions?
Looks pretty straightforward. Move to approve the petition.
Second.
Okay. It's approved. Second item on the agenda, 16821, Councilor Andrew Van Hazinga, on behalf of Christine Schneider, petition to repair the sidewalk in front of 99 Pleasant Street. We have Councilor Van Hazinga to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this was brought to my attention by a resident who lives in front of the section of sidewalk. And it's deteriorated and it's uneven, and she actually tripped on the broken sidewalk and injured herself. It's also down the street from Longstreet Middle School, and in the morning there's a steady stream of kids that are walking to school across the sidewalk. So it's just something that needs to be repaired and hopefully can get on the list to be done.
So DPW is able to add this to their list of items. Speaking to the motion?
Is this the sidewalk that's kind of all overgrown with weeds and like dirt in that there's kind of like a wall? Or is it the one next to it with the houses set way back?
So this is actually in the same block as Longstreet Middle School. I know around the corner on Spring Street was a very big concern. That was overgrown, but that was beaten back and cleared up this fall after school started. So this is really...
I was thinking of Nutting Street. So it's this sidewalk with the
Yes.
asphalt kind of,
that appears to be it, yes.
like it was patched with asphalt on top of?
It looks like it's been patched over time. There's bits of concrete, and it just, it's getting to be a little dangerous.
And it looks like it connects to a fairly recent done sidewalk within the past 10 years or so to Longstreet.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, it's been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor. 17521, Councilors Marisa Fleming and Tom Hughes to rename Union Street, located in Ward 5B, to Adrian Ford Way. Do we have any updates on whether we are able to change this, or are there any other avenues we'll need to?
So we are definitely able to do this. It's not a problem for DPW as a whole. You know, we can change signs pretty easily. I would just like to advise that for the people that live on the street, it could potentially pose quite a challenge, because it means updating driver's licenses, utility bills, everything that has their name and address on it. So I'm not opposed to it all. I understand the motivation behind it. I just caution that there might be some outreach to residents that should be done ahead of making this official.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Councilor Hughes?
Thank you, Commissioner. I've seen other cities where they just dual name, they don't change the name of the street, they just add a name to the top, you know what I mean? And that way, the residents don't have to change anything, you know what I mean? Is that something that we can look into to see if we can like dual name it and not change the official name, but just add that name to the sign, per se? Would that like mess up anything?
I think we can do that. I think what I've seen in other cities and towns is there's like a little placard on top of the street sign that says "in memory of such and such."
Right.
We could do something similar to that.
Yeah.
Gary, you have any objections to that? No, that's fine. Okay.
Counselor Squalia?
Yes, for the reasons that Commissioner Erickson noted, I would be concerned about changing the name for the residents of the existing Union Street, but to add a co-name like Adrian Ford Way, like a secondary name, I think that would be a very nice tribute to Adrian Ford, and right where the Three Pyramids is, I think it makes sense. Thank you.
Counselor Hughes?
Thank you. The other thing is only, I think it was one house or two houses over there on that street. I don't think it's more than, what, two residents on that street.
Yeah, I believe there's two.
The other houses are on, they actually go up to Blossom Street, the front of the house is on Blossom Street, and one is Day Street, and then the school building, the residence building is actually on Snow Street, right? The front of that is on Snow Street or Day Street?
I'm
That
not
new
sure.
resident
I'd have to
hall they
look
built
into
there.
that. If it is only two residences, maybe it does make sense to
Yeah,
change
so
the
I think
permit.
it's only like, I think it's one of them being a church in the middle there, and I think it's one other house, maybe one or two other houses right beside it, because that was actually brought to my attention that is, it wouldn't be bad because it's not 20 houses on the street, you know what I mean? Everybody, so
Yeah,
might
if
be
it's
something
only-
to.
If it's only one or two, and, we approach them ahead of time, let them know what's coming, and just make sure
Right.
that they're kind of on board with it, I don't see any problem with it, really.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak, Counselor Boishman? Okay. All right, I think adding the signage on the top is a great idea. We don't want to inconvenience anybody by changing the complete street name, even though there's only a couple of residents there, because, with everything the way it is now, we know just trying to change anything might take 6 to 8 months. So I think that's, adding that little memorial plaque atop of the sign is really is a good idea.
So I would move to amend the petition to change the word rename to co-name.
Cool name, yeah.
Second?
Yeah, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. And then move to approve the amended petition.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Petition 18321, Councilor Sam Squalia and Andrew Kuchar to replace an asphalt berm and add an apron to alleviate water erosion occurring at 25 Mayland Street, as detailed in the shown attached diagram. Councilor Squalia, would you like to speak to this?
The resident is here as well. Just want to know.
Would you like to come up and speak to the agenda item?
My name is Jay Johnson. My daughter actually owns a property at 25 Mayland Street. I do share the place with her and my granddaughter. This erosion issue has been going on for, almost 2 years. I did reach out, and I know it's something that they're working on, but it's just getting worse. Someone actually drove their car over there and actually almost ruined their tire, because where the berm is, on the other side of it, the ground, it's got to be, more than a foot deep, and it's long. So when it's raining like this, it's even worse. So I know Sam came out and took a look at it, and she took some pictures. It's pretty bad.
Thank you.
Yep.
Would you, DPW, yep. Gary?
It's on a hill, it does need it.
Does need. So we are going to approve this, and again, we're not giving timeframes to any of the items because of the backlog of things that need attention to in the city. And anything else we need to add? No. Councilor
A
Boishman?
question for the commissioner, acting commissioner. Are we going back to berms and aprons? The previous commissioner didn't want to do that because it cost the city too much money. He gave me, and I'm assuming that he gave all the councilors this piece of paper according to the code. I think I don't have it with me, where it says that the city will pay 50% and the homeowner will pay 50%. What's going to be the policy? That's all I want to know. Are we going to do it, or are we not going to do it? Or today we feel like it, and tomorrow we don't feel like it?
So a couple things on that. First, I'm not aware of any document saying that the city would split costs for replacement of any berms or whatever, curbing. I'd like to see that before I pass any judgment on it. I don't think the previous commissioner ever decided that we weren't going to do any berms anywhere in the city. His opinion was that when we reconstruct a neighborhood, we put in granite curbing because it's more durable. It does cost a heck of a lot more, so in some areas it's definitely cost prohibitive. In areas like 25 Mayland Street in particular, there's no good way to control runoff without some sort of a berm or curb. If there's already asphalt berm there, aside from reconstructing the entire road, I would suggest putting back asphalt berm. In areas where we can afford to put granite and there is already granite, I would continue to put granite. In areas where we have to address runoff, but we don't have the money to put granite curbing in, then I think berm is really one of the only alternatives. So I think we handle that on a case-by-case basis, and we keep in mind our budget and what we're tying into, whether it's existing granite or if it's existing asphalt berm. I agree with the previous commissioner that asphalt berm is not very durable whatsoever. It gets damaged easily by plows. It only lasts a season or two. I prefer the Cape Cod style versus the bread box style. The Cape Cod's the lower, kind of mountable. The plow blades ride up on it instead of pushing it over and breaking it up. So all these things are factored into decisions that we make when we go to put berm back places. In addition, you got to look into the grade that you're tying into behind the berm or curb. So Oak Hill Road is a good example of that. I would have loved to put like 4 or 6 inch Cape Cod berm back out there when we repaved recently. But if you look at the lawns behind it, they're 8 or 10 inches high. So we would have had to chase that grade back onto their lawn, and it would have looked very weird having this lawn that's up here drop sharply down to a berm that's down here. And then over time, the plows would have damaged the lawn instead of the berm. So we went with a different style Cape Cod berm that's a little taller than normal.
Don't get me wrong, I just want to make sure that young man understand. I'm not against berms. I'm going to vote for your petition. I just want to know where we stand, because a lot of my residents, I told them they're not doing it anymore. They don't want to do it. And so I told them, no, I'm not going to file a petition. So I'll have to go back and tell them I'll put the petitions in again, because I was going underneath the last meeting we had, I was under the assumption that he was staying away from it. So.
In some areas, it doesn't make sense to do berm if it's going to continually get damaged by plows and whatnot. If we have the funding to put in granite curbing and concrete sidewalks, that's the preference. Obviously, in some areas, it doesn't make sense to do that. A lot of times, we don't have budget to do that. So we have to treat it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
I don't like just putting berm on top of an existing asphalt road. It helps to use the Cape Cod style, which gets installed on the binder lift of pavement, and you kind of lock it in with the top layer of pavement, so it's less susceptible to plow
Yeah,
damage.
they did it on Daniel Street, and I'll tell you one thing right now, works beautiful.
Right.
It hasn't, they paved that, they did that over before you came here, about 20 years ago, Gary? I hit it with the plow all the time because I pushed the snow across the street, and it hasn't broken yet. It just rides right, just like you said, it goes right up.
Yeah, it scratches it, but it doesn't completely
Right.
blow it apart. We did that over, there's a neighborhood by the college we paved last year, Garfield, Lenox, Richmond, and Berkeley Streets. We did Cape Cod berm out there, and it's held up pretty well. They also make something called a mono berm, which is basically a berm-shaped form with the top layer of pavement, and it's integral to that top layer of pavement. It doesn't look as good because the backside isn't compacted, so you need to use it in areas where you're backing it up with loam or an embankment or something like that. But once Alpine Road, McIntyre Road, and Williams Road are done, take a ride out there and check that out, because there's going to be some mono berm out there. The advantage of that is that it's a lot cheaper. It accomplishes the same thing as the Cape Cod style berm, but it also helps control the runoff like a typical berm does.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept.
Okay. Speaking to the motion, I just want to make a comment. I don't ever recall the last commissioner talking about a 50-50 split between the city and a resident, but I want it noted that I would never approve anything like that. So,
Paul, if you do have anything,
I do have it at home.
If you
I don't
wanna-
have it in my pants pocket. I usually keep it in my pants pocket. It's kind of shredded. Maybe I have it in my pants pocket at the library.
whatever you've got, I'd love to see it. And there is some language in the city code about cost sharing between residents and the city when it comes to, I believe it's driveways and all that, but it's only if things aren't up to the city standard. not entirely clear on it. I'd have to go back and take a look at the city code again. But once you have it, forward it on to me, and we'll take a look and see
All right,
where we go
I'll do
from
that.
there. Okay.
I have
Thank
it
you.
at home.
Okay.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, speaking to the motion, yep.
For anyone who hasn't come by and seen it, I would invite you to come by and take a look at it. It's just bad. I can't stress it enough. We have a berm that comes down from the neighbor's property, and then there's a space where our walkway is to come up to the stairs. There's no berm there, so everything that comes down along the berm runs behind that and has washed out the ground behind it. Very deep hole there. There are a couple of cones that were brought out by DPW over a year ago. Due to snow plowing and everything else, those cones are pretty much flat. They're still there, but not anything that's enough to warn someone to be careful about that spot. There are tenants that live in the building. They have young children. It can be dangerous for someone. I mean, obviously you can see it, but still dangerous. Okay?
Well, it looks like
I did go out and look at that. So one of the issues too is that there's a ton of water that comes off that hill, and there's only one catch basin up the hill and then one catch basin at the bottom of the hill. So the only way to stop that erosion is to keep the water on the road with a berm or something like that.
So you do one continuous berm?
Yeah, we're gonna have to, just to make sure the water doesn't get in behind there and keep making the problem worse.
You notice the water shut off? It's kind of
It
lopsided.
did, it's all undermined, and that'll have to be part of the restoration too, so.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take care of that.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, motion passes. Petition 18421, Counselor Andrew Van Hazinger, on behalf of Lori Brown, to repair the sidewalk in front of 11 Nutting Street. Speak.
So this is on Nutting Street, which is off of Simon Street, up on the hill up there. And there's a sidewalk that looks like it used to run from Simon's into Nutting, but in large places, it's pretty much abandoned. There's retaining walls that have collapsed, it's overgrown. But there is this one section of sidewalk in front of this property that's actively used. There are some issues with the curb is sunken down, so it appears that drainage isn't staying in the street. Water is going onto the sidewalk and undermining it. And it's in really rough shape. I don't know if it really came through with the picture, but it's very uneven, it's very safe. There's a resident there who recently had knee surgery, is concerned this winter that she's not gonna be able to access the car there because it's just not safe to walk on. It's an asphalt sidewalk. The hope would be if we could just put some asphalt down, raise it up a little bit, just as probably a temporary repair, just to make it safer, and hopefully get through the winter.
I think we have a lot of foot traffic there too with students and,
There's a lot more houses on Nutting Street, which is a dead-end street off of Simons, than I would have thought. There are a number of houses down there. There's people that, because kids have to walk to Longstro there, they can't take the bus.
all right.
So I used to live around the corner at Simons and Mount Vernon, and there's always a steady stream of kids walking through that whole neighborhood to get to school.
Thank you. Counselor Squalia?
So is this the sidewalk that's like really overgrown and vegetated?
No, it's pretty clear. I don't know if it came through in the original petition, but I have a picture there. That in
Oh,
other
okay.
places it is overgrown. There's some retaining walls and flats. This one is pretty clear. It's just in terrible shape.
Yeah, this is the one with the houses set very far back, right?
Yes, there's a retaining wall that the owner is planning on taking out within the next year, and then do a slope there. But, yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
Commissioner, question for the commissioner.
Counselor Boishman?
I get the same kind of problems in my neighborhood.
It's like it's common.
I got may I ask the
Yeah.
commissioner? Again, Mr. Commissioner, I'll ask you again. I'm not gonna reject the council's petition, but my I'd like to know is, I put in petitions starting in 2014 for sidewalk repair. I had a 75-year-old woman that fell and got hurt on Dumas Street. Nothing has been done. I had one on Home Street where somebody got hurt, and I brought the paperwork in to prove that the party got hurt. Nothing got done, and the homeowner had to take upon himself to do the strip. What is going to be the policy on the sidewalks? I know it takes money, and I know it takes labor and manpower. But what is going to be the policy, and how are we going to address this problem?
Well, I can't speak to what was done in the past, because I just started as the commissioner August 3rd. Asphalt sidewalks are significantly easier and cheaper to repair. It's a matter of a two-man crew going out there with a hot mix truck and doing some quick patches versus going out there for 3 or 4 days at a time to dig up concrete panels and pour new ones. I would say that, we try to take care of whatever repairs are submitted via petition as quickly as we can. A lot of times, it just, like now, we're running up against November 15th when the asphalt plants close, or December 15th, rather. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to be put off till next year. I would say any petitions that you have that haven't been addressed since 2014 or, whenever you started submitting them, please forward those to me and we can look at trying to get those on our repair list. I don't want to leave sidewalks in a condition where residents are tripping and getting hurt. Obviously, I don't have a magic bullet to solve all of the city sidewalk problems because we are limited with manpower and funding, but we'll do what we can, where we can, and prioritize the worst ones.
Okay, because this is not on the petition, I'd rather not speak any more to that, your petition, but.
No, I'm not talking about,
Yeah.
I asked a question,
Yeah.
if you would pay attention. The question to him was, what's going to be the policy? Because I gave him examples. It was only an example. I didn't ask him to name it. If I wanted to make it a big issue, I would have made it a big issue.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Boishman.
I just want to know
So
what the
I
policy is.
think that if we have items that have not been addressed since 2014, we have a bigger problem. So I think maybe should be addressed later, and I know we can't put timeframes on anything because we are short-staffed and overburdened right now in DPW, so these will be addressed when they can get to them, not when they feel like it, but when they're able to get to them, when they have the appropriate staff to do so. So,
Move to approve petition 18421.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have 2 petitions that were held. The first is 89-20. Councilor Bernie Schultz and resident Alan Friedman to remove the no turn on red sign at the intersection of John Citrino Memorial Drive and Water Street. This was held from the 10:28 meeting and the 1:26:21 meeting and 7:27:21 meeting. We amended the spelling of Citrino on the January 21st meeting. Councilor Schultz?
Yeah, I spoke to Commissioner Erickson yesterday, and previously Commissioner Bossonetto was going to do the traffic study himself, so it was going to be a very low cost if he did it himself, but now we're probably going to have to bring someone in to do it, so Commissioner Erickson said we should probably keep it on hold until close to the end of the fiscal year and see if we have any funding available at that time.
I agree with Councilor Schultz, and we discussed this last night. So towards the end of the fiscal year, if we have any extra money floating around in either one of the engineering accounts or the streets budget, we could potentially ask one of our on-call consultants to do a simple traffic study. In the meantime, I'm going to try to figure out how to do something like that myself. It's certainly not my area of expertise, whereas it was former Commissioner Bossonetto's. But I'm happy to learn as I go. So I'll take a look and see what I can do in-house, and if we need to hire a consultant towards the end of this fiscal year and we have the funds to do it, we will.
Madam Chair?
Councilor Hughes?
Yeah, so have public safety weighed in on this in terms of, is there an issue with public safety right there? If it removed that sign, it's, would it possibly increase
I want to ask you the question.
accidents possibility or something like that?
Potentially. So the concern is that you've got, I forget the name of the side road right there.
Boyle Court.
Boyle Court. So Boyle Court is essentially directly across from the Citrino Bridge right there. So when you have a red light at the Citrino Bridge, you assume that they potentially have a green light there and there's traffic coming out there. So the no right is to prevent traffic from interfering with the flow of traffic out from Boyle Court. So I have talked to Sergeant Boudreau, who's the police department's traffic supervisor, and he seems to be against removing that sign unless a traffic study is done. I think he's potentially concerned with accidents there too.
Okay, thank you.
Council Boishman, is this to the petition?
Yeah.
Okay. Council Boishman.
If I understand we're going to hold off to, I understand the whole question. But are we doing this because, to the counselor who put the petition in, if I lived on Blake Court, and you tell me I only could take a right turn, to head down Water Street, they go back over the bridge to make a turn around, they come back, they head up Water Street, isn't it kind of foolish where the cars on right can wait because they get the light too? And plus, if I'm not mistaken, there's a crosswalk right there too, because we don't have a right turn on red over here, a right turn on over the bridge over here, because the crosswalks, and Mass DOT says you can't do that, I guess, I don't know the whole story. But my question is, I'm worried about if I lived on your court, that court, and I wanted to head west, you're gonna make me go all the way around to head west?
We had this discussion at the
Yes.
the committee meetings, and you were mixed up then about Boyle Court, Council Boishman. I think that's why Commissioner Erickson wants to do the traffic study. We don't think there's much use of Boyle Court, and that it would be advantageous for people coming out of the Citrino Drive to be able to take that right turn. We used to have the fire station in there, and so it wasn't something we wanted to talk about when the fire station was in operation. But right now, it's not, and has not been for many years.
Right, and the purpose of the traffic study would really just to get a traffic count to see which cars are turning in which direction and how many cars in each direction. And then adjust, not only taking that sign down, but adjusting the signal timing accordingly, just to make sure that traffic flows smoothly and there's no other conflicts there.
Okay, I get no problem. I make a motion to hold.
Council Squall, you would like to
sorry about that.
speak?
I just wanted to note that this petition originally went to Public Safety on October 20th, 2020, and it was referred to Public Works. So this already was discussed in the Public Safety Committee.
So the motion is to hold it till a traffic study could be completed.
Correct.
Second.
Speaking to the motion?
No.
Did you want to speak?
I just
Okay.
voted on it. I just said that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's been passed, thank you. And the final petition that was held is 13521, Councilor Marisa Fleming petition to install a barrier at 113 Summit Street to mitigate property damage caused by driver error at this dangerous corner. And I don't know if you remember this one, where the car drove into the yard and took out the fence and...
Right, but that's such a sharp corner, you really can't put much there.
Okay, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she was going to put some sort of a barrier, but she was looking for something, some kind of a sign or something that maybe the corner was much more visible when people make it, that sort of pops, that shows that dangerous corner. Councilor Squalia?
So at the meeting,
Yep.
Commissioner Bosanetto went back and forth and said he would suggest to hold it because he would look into whether or not the street should be a one-way or the street should, or we should limit truck traffic. And that's kind of, and you know, that was where that was left, so he'd never got the opportunity
Right, it was a
to do
number
that.
of rumor thing, even getting a hold of Google, I believe, to maybe reroute trucks, but the, I think, because I believe Google does direct you to go through the side road rather than come up on the other side. So there were a number of suggestions that were going to be. Pardon me? Okay, something that pops at least, and then I don't know how we would go about getting in contact with Google to reroute traffic.
I think the issue there is the truck traffic. So you've got a lot of trucks for the industrial uses further up Summit Street and on Upham Street that try to go that way and take that sharp bend. And especially with like a semi truck, the back axle drives over the private property. So if we put any sort of a barricade there and we allow truck traffic to continue driving through there, I think they're gonna just hit the barricade and kind of drag it with them further up the road. Because it's very difficult to stop a semi-truck when they're driving. They can barely feel anything, let alone, you know, a Jersey barrier or a
Right.
rock or something. So I think if we're gonna put out a sign, it's gonna get taken out unless we also look at ways to eliminate or reduce truck traffic.
Right, to have them take a different route. I believe this particular accident, because I was there the next day, and was really caused by a driver error, and at an odd time of the morning, that literally just didn't see the corner and went straight through the yard from one side to the other, so, and I think people just, because they know that route, take it, whether it's the best route necessarily, I don't know. So, but to get those larger trucks out of there, Counselor Boishman.
I got one question. When I went by Center Street, I'd like to know, we have a city ordinance in the city where if you go from one point, you put 20 feet down and 20 feet down, and then your fence is supposed to go on an angle. When I went by there that day, it looked like the fence to me was pretty close to the curb. It wasn't 20 feet down the road and 20 feet up the road, and then you go one cross that way.
Was there a fence installed? The last
Yeah,
time I drove by there was no
There was a
fence.
fence there. That
Okay.
time we had the meeting, there was a fence.
Correct, but that fence was the fence that had been taken out.
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
fence
yeah.
wasn't, and if you looked at the fence,
Yeah.
it didn't go by code. It wasn't
Right,
code.
'cause it was a corner.
It wasn't, here's the road, the corner here, and come down 20 feet, pull it, and up this way 20 feet point, and your fence comes across this way.
I didn't look at the ordinance, my apologies, but I don't know if the fence was there before the ordinance
No, I
was
just
put
asked.
in, so, yeah.
I'm just asking.
We do like a tractor trailer truck exclusion sign, like no tractor trailer, or no truck traffic or something
Yeah.
similar to that.
That sounds good to me, Counselor Squalia?
Would that affect the existing businesses, though? Because if there is existing trailer there, because this is a fairly industrialized area, except for the residents, would that affect the businesses that are there?
I think ultimately they'd adapt. There's other ways around without cutting through that Summit Street to save off, 2 minutes on a commute. You could go down, Summer Street, John Fitch Highway, Upham Street.
Whitney's the one that hits
Other
it, right?
ways to get over there, Bechtel Street.
Is the existing fence located on the property, or is it within the city easement? Because it does look like it is fairly close to the street, as Councilor Boishman noted.
I think it's a private fence, but I think Councilor Boishman might be right that it's not installed according to city code. So that would be something we'd have to talk to the building department about and have them investigate.
So maybe if the fence was cut back a little further from the street to allow cars to, I don't know, accidentally
This
go off the
particular
street a little.
accident really had nothing to do with, it had to do with somebody literally going through the yard from one side of the yard to the other. So they never even made it to the corner. How long that fence has been there, I don't know, but the resident is willing to, when she does put something up, she does want it further away from the corner, because she does have a young child that lives there, and I know that was one of her concerns. So she was looking for any type of a barrier to alert or keep big trucks off the road. Again, that particular accident happened because of driver error and just the time of morning it was and where they might have been coming from, so.
So it's really kind of the concern is largely that cars would drive into the house, where, like her bedroom, she noted, was right on the side of the street. So maybe it's something where the homeowner would place a bollard right in front of her house on private property, or a boulder or something, and maybe off the city property. Is that?
If I'm not mistaken, we were unable to put any type of barrier there.
The city would be unable, but the
Right.
homeowner would be able to.
She was trying to get the city to do it.
Right.
So, well, I'll probably have to give her a call, but let's begin with that. Counselor
I'll
Boishman?
make a motion on their recommendation. I'm all in favor. If they want to make the trucks go down that road, especially Whitney, and they use it up in the street, I'm all in favor of it, not to go down the Summit. Because they're big trailers. The Whitney trucks are real big.
I'd suggest for the motion, or making a motion to allow Public Works Department to work with the police department on signage to prohibit truck traffic and further, I guess, identify that there's a dangerous corner ahead, whether it's the Chevron signs or similar. But I'd work with Sergeant Boudreau to kind of figure that out, and then we'd have Gary and his streets guys go install the signs.
Move to amend the petition as noted.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Move to approve the amended petition.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.